Welcome to another episode of Let's Play! Today we're gonna play some Kerbal Space Program, and I'm not gonna mumble or whisper this time or ruin the video like I did trying to record an episode with space engineers. That turned out really bad. So obviously you haven't seen it because I didn't put it anywhere. But we're gonna play Kerbal Space Program. This is available off Steam here. I bought this probably, I don't know, about 2-3 years ago. Played a lot of it, and then I kind of just put it away. I just haven't played it forever, and I started it up the other night. I was saying, what the hell, I'll play this game. And crashed the desktop, and it took forever for me to figure it out because I had it pretty heavily modded. And obviously when you mod something like this where it's not a workshop where it automatically updates your mods for you, you come back a couple years, well, not a couple years, but roughly a year later, and nothing works. So got it cleaned out, got the directories up to date, cleaned everything up again, and it's playing well again. So we're gonna go ahead, we'll start a game here. It is modded just a little bit. There's no texture mods, there's no realism mods added into this as of yet. So we're just a couple part expansion packs, some stuff that, just makes it a little more fun, a couple of extra things that I really like. It'd be nice if Squad would add to the game, etc. But so we're gonna go ahead. We'll just go ahead and start into a new sandbox here. For some odd reason, I am thoroughly obsessed with this Dinkelstein. Just the name is exciting and fun to me. So we're gonna use Dinkelstein as our flag, and we will name ourselves. Maybe. We'll go ahead and name ourselves Dinkelstein. So let's start this. So our plan today is to try and kill my CPU with physics calculations. It might not happen today. It might happen a little down the road because we're going to be playing a bit. So obviously, since the last time I played, we had the tracking station, we had the VAB, a launch pad, spaceplane hangar, and the runway, and that was it. So obviously that was quite a while ago when I played last. So I mean, now we've got mission control, an astronaut complex, admin building, and research and development, and that's in our career mode. And we might get into that in a bit. I got some of these new parts packs. I want to play with them a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and jump in here to the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building. Lots of helps. Hello, I'm Werner von Kerman, Chief Rocketry Engineer. This is the Vehicle Assembly Building where we build spacecraft, and later roll them out to the launch pad for flight. Pretty impressive, isn't it? Okay, so on the left here, we'll go ahead and go through this. On the left, we've got our parts lists broken into categories of pods, fuel tanks, engines, command and control, structural, coupling, payload, aerodynamics, ground, thermal, electrical, communication, science, and utility. So we'll just kind of go through each of these real quick, and then we'll get into building. Obviously, we've got the external command seat, which has always been there. A couple of new additions that I downloaded. I've got some station expansion. I think it's the vanilla or whatever kind of station expansion parts. I've got near future solar, a couple other things, MechJeb, just because when it comes to sandbox I'm lazy and I like to use MechJeb to line everything up, and it makes things a little bit easier when you're building complex kind of in space things. You're trying to dock a lot of things together. So part of those expansions, so I've got a Jing Type 1 ring. I think this will be a lot of fun. It's nice that somebody made this. You can look inside there. On the outer ring in the center, you have a lot of attachment points, which is going to make things pretty easy. Before trying to build a ring for a station, you know, a gravity type ring for a station, it was a pretty intense process. You were taking pieces of stuff, you were going to cut them and splice them together, and it never came out really clean and crisp. This looks great to me. I really like the white to the outside. I like the fact that it's closed. I like very kind of closed, clean, finished looking spacecraft. So that's I love that part. We're gonna play with it, obviously. There's the Jing Type 2, and this starts to kind of remind me of, I don't know, maybe Deep Space Nine a little bit from Star Trek, Babylon 5, some of that stuff. That's kind of what this reminds me of. I like that it's got a station core already inside of it, and it just looks like it's a rugged deep space. We threw this thing together. You know, it just, I don't know, it looks cool. Let's go with that. Part of that station parts look-alike station part expansions. This is our interceder station core. This is a smaller core. I believe that's a 3 meter. And then next to it is our distributor station core, and I believe that this is a 5 meter station core. Moving along, the Mark 1 cockpit. You can use that for space flight, along with the Mark Line inline cockpit, the Mark 2 cockpit, and the Mark 3 and the Mark 2 inline. You know, building a shuttle or a space plane kind of deal there. Mark 1 command pod, that definitely reminds me of, say, a Gemini pod, or some of the earlier conical NASA command pods. Mark 1 lander can, building a lander around this. That's a Mark 1, and in the lander can category we have a Mark 2, which is slightly larger. You know, that might be 1.5 meter and a 3 meter. Can't remember if it says or not. No. Okay, so, you know, bigger lander can, and obviously you can use any of these parts in any way that you wish. That's the great part about this game, where it's, you go free. You do whatever you want. So we've got, for kind of like space station stuff, we've got the PPD-12 cupola module. This would be, you know, the cherry on top of a station piece, observation area, look out into the distance. You know, we can lights, we can toggle our flags on and off, we can change our torque settings, etc. So there's that, and then part of that look-alike station expansion is another octo aperture module, extraplanetary octo aperture module. Same as basically the cupola module. This one has a few more options. There's a couple of airlocks on it, one on each side. I have the option to bolt something into it, or maybe put a docking ring there. So a lot of options there for that piece. And then we get into, say, our probe cores and our unmanned cores. So, probe 9, you know, some of these are fairly small, some are a little bit bigger, some of them are really small. These are for probes, just, you know, going out. You have several of these, you know, little rectangle kind of cube there. And this is a rover kind of core there. Something just to start building a rover around. If you want to build kind of a smaller rover, I mean, for reference there, that's big enough to stick a single Kerbal on. They call this one the Stay Putnik. A little bit of play on words with Sputnik. Little golf ball in space. And then we get into, I believe these are some of the MechJeb parts. Maybe not. Hopefully that worked. Let's try command and control. Yeah. So I believe that that's one of the MechJeb parts where we can start adding in the remote guidance, and it'll do some of the calculations for us, our our approach vectors and trying to match an orbit and launch window, etc. So that's what those are. Thermal, this is kind of new to me. I remember a mod bringing in thermal, but I didn't realize it was in the vanilla game. So now you're putting heat shields into your game, bringing in a heat shield for re-entry. Before it was you were re-entering with a straight, just a straight command module coming down, and I thought that the heat shield was always going to be incorporated, but I guess not. This looks like a deployable, a deployable heat shield there. So anyways, moving on, we have some of these radiator panels and thermal control systems. So it helps cool some of your systems. Electrical here, so let me grab one of these distributor cores, and I'll show you some of this electrical stuff that we've got. So we've got fuel cells, fuel cell arrays. This is the vanilla solar array there. And then with near future solar, you get a lot more options with solar panels. So you've got a small little solar array. You've got the mega array. And when it comes to space stations, I love these things because it just kind of, I'm not trying to go for an ISS kind of feel, but it helps with that. These big giant solar arrays. This one is where we start getting really big. I mean, that's like holy shit, that's huge. And then we get into some of these, like the blanket arrays, these big blankets. This is a circular blanket array. Curved solar arrays that can go on the exterior of your equipment. So looking at that, so if we were to do 8 of those all the way around, that's actually pretty cool. If I was doing, actually, hold on, it would be 6, wouldn't it? Do a 6 and a 6. If we were to extend those, boom, that's pretty freaking cool. I like that. We might actually do that on something. That is really cool. So we'll move those. Batteries, obviously you need batteries in these systems. We're going to be drawing a lot of electricity. We're going to be doing lights. We're going to be doing science modules and experiments. We're going to be putting in communications arrays. I really like what they've done. Before, it used to be this Communitron 16, which is an antenna, the 8888, which would, let's turn that off. That gives us the dish kind of look. and then we've got a high gain antenna, this fold away one, another fold away dish, and then you have some of these permanently mounted dishes. So this one a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger, big. Just doesn't want to snap to the top of that, but big. And so I really like the idea of some of this stuff. I like what Squad has done moving forward in this game. So let's go ahead and get into building. Okay, enough talking about all the cool shit that's in the game. Let's start building. I want to use this larger octo aperture module. So start here, bring it up a bit. I can't remember if I have. Let's see here. Some of this stuff is still old. I need to delete some of it. A lifter. Do we have a lifter rocket? X Mega Station. Oh, Jesus. I don't want to load that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and build our own lifter system. Because I'm not seeing one. So okay. So anyways, so we'll start with the very top of our space station here. I'm not sure if I like having that at the very top, so we'll go back down here and let's grab in coupling. We use this shielded docking port for the very top. For some odd reason, it did not want to snap in there. Maybe it doesn't want me to do that. Okay, let's go to structural. Let's find ourselves a really small piece of structural fuselage. Or, actually, you know what? We could do that. Let's just do that. Let's get that as centered as possible because it's not snapping. Why are you not snapping? God damn it. Okay. Snap up here. It's a radial mounted piece. Okay, so how the hell am I supposed to? Uh-oh. Okay, so maybe it's not working the best. Let's try aerodynamics. Yeah, I can put a cone up there. No. Oh no. Not snapping to that point. Oh, God. We'll just, yeah, you know what? We'll just put this on there and get it as possible. Mouse, don't shake. Okay. So we'll do that. It looks kind of silly, but it works. Let's call that good. So we need some controlling systems. We need some batteries. So let's go ahead and get to our batteries here. Going to be an electrical, and because it's the larger, it's even bigger than the largest battery. We may have to find ourselves a bigger battery for this. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put some smaller exterior photo cells, maybe like this curved solar array. Does that extend? Oh, that works. We'll do that in a minute. Okay, so this does have reaction wheels inside of it. Okay, so moving on, let's go down here to some structural components, and let's just radial attachment point, radial attachment module. Pressurized. Oh boy. Maybe we have to. Maybe it's just that one's too big. Let's try. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Station core. So that is bigger than anything we have, diameter-wise. So, you know what, let's get rid of that. Let's go with the this big station core. We'll get rid of that. And we'll stick the vanilla cupola module on there. Okay. That means we can use our batteries now. So let's put one battery in there, because obviously every time you go around the sun, you've got to have power until you complete your dark side orbit. So we'll get a battery going like that, and we want to try and make this pretty radially even, going around like this. We want our balance to remain to the center. That way we're not flopping around and we don't have this huge giant exciting event trying to keep this thing rotating straight. So let's bring it up. Let's come up here. So what do we want to add to it? Now what we could do is we could actually start this as the very front, and in our next launch we'll bring the ring up to it. And what that means is we're gonna have to, yeah, what we'll do is we'll just do this like this, okay? Come down here to coupling, and we're gonna put our Clampotron Senior docking port in, flip it over, and do that. Now what we're gonna need from command and control is we'll put our mech jeb out here, and we'll put it somewhere a bit less conspicuous, which doesn't help. I'm really good at that. Okay, let's put mech jeb down there, down low. Actually put him there like that. Get our RCS thruster blocks, because we need our control systems. So this, I usually just do 4 on our symmetry, and we'll put it a little bit higher, so put it on the batteries. We'll put another set, and we're going to offset these down here where they can actually mount. Offset those like that, and that'll provide some control for us. Go back to electrical, and double like that, and we'll put some solar panels on the sides of this thing, just so it can keep charged up while it's running. So this has mono, this has mono, this has mono, so I don't think we need to add any additional mono propellant. What we will do is under coupling. We're going to get our stack separator out. Okay, so that should work. Now, what we need to do, so that's going to be our final, stage right there. That's our final stage. So we're going to lift this up a bit. Okay, now what we're going to do, come in here to fuel tanks. I need, not that size tank, a smaller one. That one? Probably that one. That's probably all we need. So we will go ahead, we'll put this fuel tank on. Engines, I'm going to put this Poodle liquid engine on. This is going to be our fine-tuning engine. This is going to get us fine-tuned into our orbit and right where we want to leave our space station, the beginning of our station. So we will come over here. Yeah, that should work. Okay, we're going to put our Separatrons on, take 4 of these, we're going to rotate them over. Because when we eject this, we don't want our piece of this, put it up there. Okay. When we eject this thing, we do not want our little Poodle engine and our fuel tank and our coupler to stay hooked up to our space station, right? So we want to have this so that when it does eject, okay, so that way we can have this eject and get pushed away from the station, right? That way our station stays in the orbit we want it to stay in. Okay, moving along, we'll come back to coupling. Grab another stack separator. Shows which direction that it's actually meant to couple. Drop that thing in there, grab this. Alright, here comes the fun part. We're gonna get into structural here, and we're gonna find our big adapter. It's somewhere in here. It's not that one, because we're gonna go up in engine size. That one, right there. Okay. Now we're going to put a big old monster of a fuel tank and an engine on here. So, in fuel tanks, we're looking for, it kind of looks like the Apollo tanks. Boom. Biggest tank we can get a hold of. Put another little baby tank on there. Go back here to engines and our big mammoth lifting engine. Okay. So that works. That looks pretty good to me. Hopefully we'll see what happens. I'm just kind of playing around at this point, trying to get this to work. So what we need to do is come back to coupling, and we're going to grab our hydraulic detachment manifolds. And I'm gonna run this on symmetry 2 because I want these to no, that's the way it needs to happen. It needs to actually go here, and this one needs to go here, offset from the big lifting engines. Okay, go back to our engines. I want the big rocket boosters, big solid rocket boosters. And then this, it's a little fun to try and get these lined up, okay? So those are on there. Those are on there like that, okay? So our 4 big lifting engines to start our ascent. And then we need to come in here with the Separatrons. Okay. First things first, I'm actually going to clean this up. Those 2 engines are in the same stage. Those are all in the same stage. That engine needs to fire with these engines. Okay. This is the next one, and that is our next stage there. Okay. Separatrons. Okay, we'll start here. Rotate these so that they push away from the craft. Okay, just like that. Get one there. Now, I mean, if they're not completely even, that's fine. Whatever. I'm just eyeballing it right now. So, okay, so there's our lifting engines, and those are our push away Separatrons. Okay, so those actually need to go into this stage. Those need to go into this stage. Those need to go into this stage. And those need to go into this stage. So we want the main lift rocket liquid engine to fire, and we want all 4 of our solid rocket boosters to fire in the first stage. Then when we separate our solid rocket boosters, we want our Separatrons, small little solid rockets, to pull the big ones off. When we're out of fuel and we're kind of up in space doing our thing, we'll separate here, and we can leave this because we're going to fire this engine underneath this fairing. We're going to fire this engine and push away from here, so we're okay. And then when we separate, we get our final position in space. When we separate, we want this coupler to fire off, and we want all 4 of these to disconnect from here. Okay? Now, for climbing into space, we want, where is it? I believe, nope, it is this one. AV-R8 winglet, like this. So it is the total surface of control is the entire thing. So the entire thing rotates as we're climbing. So you get a lot more atmospheric control with this one as opposed to this deluxe winglet. And this spaceplane tail fin is just so massive, it's retarded to put that thing on there. So we'll go ahead, we'll put these on here and there. And yes, there is thrust vectoring, but if with something this size, trying to get the tail end of this to move around with solid rocket boosters, the thrust vectoring just doesn't seem to be enough. So I do put these control surfaces on here. And while we're here, let's throw some nose cones on our solid rocket boosters. And that just about completes our setup here. Oh, structural. We want our launch tower. There we go. We want our launch towers. We'll put these, actually, we'll put these up here. And then put them on the solid rocket boosters as well. About halfway up the solid rocket booster. So this will hold our space station and make it ready for launch. Beautiful. Okay, so we will name this one as name this as Space Station's core. Save it. Go in here to open. Let's... wonder if I can clean some of this up. Okay. Untitled spacecraft. We have this Space Station core. There we go. Okay. So now, just to finish this, check all of our staging first. Okay, all of our launch stability towers are in the same stage as our solid rocket boosters and our main engine. All of our separatrons are in the same stage as our solid rocket booster separation stage. That stage is correct in order. The engine fires. And actually, let's just go ahead and put this into that stage. Put that engine in the same stage. So when we disconnect, the engine automatically fires and we don't have to forget about it. Which is something I'm really good at. Oh, that's a big port. Oh, yeah. That'll work great. Okay. Moving on. I know, I got excited for no reason. Moving on. Okay, so our staging looks correctly. Let's go ahead and launch this son of a gun. Let's try that. Let's change it. So we're in vertical ascent right now. So what was happening is we were accelerating too quickly, and when we got to a certain acceleration, it was dumping us off into our gravity turn, which we did not want it to do. So we're gonna do all right if we can get the solid rocket boosters off. Okay, so we're up. We're almost there. Coasting to the edge of the atmosphere. There goes our solid rocket boosters. So it's going to automatically warp. Let's look at our... Okay, so we need to go back to staging mode. Go back to staging mode. There we go. So, here pretty quick, it's going to... Getting ready to circularize. We're going to burn up the rest of our liquid fuel. Okay. So if we look at our map, all we're doing is we're just trying to get to our circular hopefully this works. Otherwise, we've got another 50 seconds of burning. I'm gonna turn all the lights on. That looks pretty cool. I like that. Okay, so we're in space. Space. So we used almost all of our fuel to do that. So now, look at our map. We are circularized, 168,232. So that's a little bit of an eccentric orbit, or an oblong orbit, whatever you want to call it. So, looking out of the sun, there's all that. Let's go ahead and dump this rocket engine, and our station core is ready to go. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Station core is in space. And that's going to complete it for us today. And come back with another episode. We'll go ahead and get on up here. I gotta decide if I want to put the ring up next. You know what? That's what we'll do. We'll bring the ring up. We'll have two pieces that come up. We're going to piggyback off of that lifter that we just used. And hopefully with a heavier payload, it's going to run a little bit better. So we'll piggyback off of that. We're going to bring probably a fuselage section up with one of the splitters. We'll have to bring another fuselage section up, and then we'll have to build our ring with a splitter in the middle. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see what happens. We'll play with it later. So, all right. That is Kerbal Space Program today. Building our station. And as always, if you like what you see, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Because some of our stuff is funny. A lot of it's funny. This isn't because we're just playing, but subscribe. And hit that like button if you like Kerbal Space Program. You want to see more of it. You want me to get a little bit deeper into it. We can go career mode, whatever you want. But the message right now, subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll see you later.